Tune into Murder in America with your host, Ethan Trace. All new episodes every Thursday night at 8 p.m. only on Binge Crime TV.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ethan Trace, and this is Binge Crime TV, and we are talking to Mr. Jonathan Fleming. Now, obviously, we get to court. Why weren't you represented at the grand jury?
When I first got arrested, they took me to the court building. They gave me an attorney. She was a legal aid attorney. She came to the back and she told me, "My name is Miss Ellen Sachs. I'm here to represent you at the arraignment," because it wasn't the grand jury yet. What happened was I had to go to arraignment first. I had to be arraigned on the murder. So once I got arraigned on the murder, she went in front of the judge and she told the judge, she said, "Your Honor, I'm here representing Mr. Fleming as a legal aid attorney. I would like to put it on the books that Mr. Fleming would like to testify in front of the grand jury."
So meaning like my dad is a judge, and he was a prosecutor and a defense attorney.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this would be what they would call like the causal hearing, right? Where they first bring you in, they're like, this is the case, is so-and-so, how do you plead? And obviously if you plead not guilty, then that's when you go to trial.
Yes. So in New York, what they do, they call it an arraignment. You know, that first time, like you said, this is the case, but it's for the first time being docket. So she was just there to represent me, to let it be known that I wanted to appear before the grand jury, because a lot of times what happened, you know, us going into the system, first thing we do, we don't go to the grand jury. Why it's good to go to the grand jury, especially if you're innocent, is because they get to hear your side of the story. Because when you don't go to the grand jury only hear one side of the story. If you say somebody robbed you and you go to the grand jury hear your testimony, but the person who actually is being accused, he don't go to the grand jury, automatic, you're going to get indicted. So that's what happened with me.
They automatically assume you guilty by default.
Automatic. So what happened was, when I did wanted to go to the grand jury, she let it be known on the record. So when she said I want to go to the grand jury, all they did was give me another court date to appear before the grand jury. So they took me back and I went to Rikers Island. So when they took me to Rikers Island, I came back to court for the grand jury on my 6th day, which is called, they call it on my 6th day. It was like on a 180 date. That's the date. If you don't get indicted that day, they have to release you on your own recognizance, on an ROR, or they may dismiss it. So what happened was, they took me to court that day to go to the grand jury. I was there waiting, but they were supposed to appoint me another attorney, a legal, the 18B attorney. They called me back about 5 o'clock. They told me we're going back to Rikers Island. And I was like, I never went to the grand jury. And that's when I was notified. They told me, your lawyer went to the grand jury and waived your rights. I told them, I said, I never met no attorney, no lawyer. So that at that time, I didn't know what was going on. But then what I found out, that they did give me a lawyer, an 18B attorney, but this lawyer never came to the back and told me, my name is such and such. He never told me that. What happened was, there was an attorney, his name was William Lupo. I guess his docket was full, he had a lot of cases. So what he did, he sent another attorney to cover for him on his behalf, just to represent for me and probably get it postponed. But the lawyer he had do that, his name was Mr. William Ostrowski. He went to the grand jury and waived my rights, but he never knew I had an alibi defense. So I never got a chance to go to the grand jury and let them hear my alibi defense, because my mother was gonna go to the grand jury, my uncle was gonna go to the grand jury, my girlfriend was gonna go to the grand jury to testify and let the jury know Jonathan was with us in Orlando, Florida. And I would have never got indicted if I would have been afforded that opportunity, but that opportunity was taken away from me by that attorney.
Do you feel that this was a mix-up by the attorney or malicious intent?
No, I believe it was a mix-up. What happened was, he had no idea I wanted to go to the grand jury. But if he would have came and talked to me and let me know that I'm here to represent you, but I'm on behalf of Mr. Lupo, he would have knew right then I want to go to the grand jury, and he would have had no choice but to let me go, because I have a right, just like you have a right to a jury trial with a judge or a jury. It's the same thing. You have a right to go in front of a grand jury if you want to, and that right was taken away from me.
That's terrible.
Yes, when I finally did get an attorney, I finally did hire an attorney, and he put in a motion. It was a motion called a 190.10 motion to set aside the verdict. To set aside the indictment based off the ineffective assistance of counsel, but they shot it down. They denied it.
So tell us about the state's witness and how were you framed for your friend's murder?
What happened was, there was a young lady, she was addicted to crack cocaine. When I got arrested and they had me in the precinct, they had me in a room for hours, and I was telling them where I was at, and I had evidence. I told them that I had airplane tickets, phone receipts, and video footage and all of that. But what happened was, she came as a show up because she knew me. So it wasn't a lineup where they put me in a lineup with a bunch of other people. It was just a show up. Do you know this guy? Yes, we do. And she pointed me out, and they told her there was a homicide that took place, and they asked her, did she know anything about this murder that took place on a certain day? She had got arrested in a stolen van. She had outstanding warrants, and she was on probation. She went to the grand jury, and she told them that she seen me do the murder. And by her cooperating like that, they actually squashed the arrest that she had to actually get me. And that's how I got indicted, because that's the young lady that went to the grand jury and got me indicted. So when I did get indicted, come to find out later, they told her that she would never have to go to trial on this. But 8 months later, when it was time to go to trial, they went to go see her, and they told her that she had to come back to court and testify to this murder that she said happened 8 months ago. Before we picked the jury, she had to come and identify me and say, yes, Mr. Fleming is the one that did it, and she refused to do it. How we found out that day when she was supposed to come and identify me, the district attorney asked the judge, could he come up, and the lawyer, could they come up and have a conversation with him? And he actually told the judge that there was a problem with his witness. And the judge, he asked the DA, what you mean it's a problem with the witness? We don't have a change in testimony, do we? He said, no, Your Honor. What's going on is that witness is afraid to testify because the man is a well-known drug dealer and she fears for her life. She don't want to testify. So at this time, what the judge told the district attorney, he said, listen, I'm going to postpone this case till tomorrow morning. And if you don't have the girl come to this actual identification hearing to identify Mr. Fleming so we could proceed and start picking the jury for the trial, I'm going to release him and I may dismiss the case. That gave them time to coach her. So it came out later on that what happened was they took her to the back, and that's when they started threatening her. She was pregnant at this time now. She was about like 8 months pregnant, and they told her if she didn't get on the stand and say what she said at the grand jury earlier on down the line when I first got arrested 8 months before, they told her she would have a baby in jail. So she agreed to get on the stand and testify forcefully because she didn't want to go to jail.
So they essentially said, we will trade your freedom for his.
Yes, basically, you tell us, that's what they did. You tell us that he did it. You get on the stand and say what you said in the month of August. But this is in like June. This is around June now. So we talking like 10 months. You get on that stand and say the exact same thing you said in August when he got indicted. Because if you don't, you will have your baby in jail. And she didn't want to have her baby in jail. So she got up there and they asked her, do you see the guy? All it was a Wade hearing. They said, do you see the guy who did the murder? And all she had to do was point at me. When she pointed at me, that was enough. And right from there, that's when they decided they're going to start picking the jury. Trial was going to be starting that following week. And we picked the jury.
I think the part that makes this story even harder is that it doesn't sound like she had it out for you at all. Like,
no, she didn't.
Yeah, so like you were put in a rough spot. She was put in a rough spot, and like, because I myself am a father. I have a beautiful 2.5-year-old daughter, and like obviously we do everything to protect our children. And so it's very hard to hear that that's what they forced her to do, which in turn hurt you.
Yeah. And it all came out later on, which is something I'm quite sure you're gonna go to. It all came out later on exactly what happened. They knew. She told them that I didn't do it afterwards.
Don't go anywhere. Be right back for part 3 on Binge Crime TV with Jonathan Fleming.